She stormed up to me at the gate like she owned the whole airport. "Excuse me," she barked loud enough for half the waiting area to hear. "That's my seat. First class isn't for people like you." I didn't move. I just held my boarding pass a little tighter. People glanced up from their phones, curious, waiting for the drama to unfold. She waved a piece of paper in my face, some printout with her name scribbled on it, and said, "Gate agents make mistakes all the time. You'll go back to coach." I stayed calm, because I knew something she didn't. The agent looked up from the counter, startled by her yelling, but Karen doubled down. "You're clearly lying. You don't even look like you belong up there. He probably upgraded himself online. Check his ticket." The crowd shifted, whispers floating around. Some people nodded like they agreed with her confidence. Others shook their heads. I just kept my eyes on her, letting her dig her own hole deeper. Then came the sting. She slapped her fake printout on the counter, demanding the agent switch our seats. For a second, the agent's hand hovered, like they weren't sure what to do. My chest tightened, because if she pulled this off, I'd not only lose my seat, it would humiliate me in front of everyone. Karen leaned in with a smirk, lowering her voice, but still loud enough for me to hear. "You're not first-class material. Some people need to stay in their lane." That's when the gate agent's phone rang. They picked it up, glanced at me, and suddenly stood straighter. The next words froze the whole terminal. "Escort the pilot." The room went silent. Karen blinked, confused, like the word didn't even register, but the agent turned toward me with a professional smile. "Captain, your seat is ready. Please proceed to the jet bridge." Karen's mouth fell open, and for the first time all day, she had nothing to say. Karen's face twisted like she had just swallowed glass. "Pilot? Him?" she sputtered, her voice cracking as she pointed at me. No, that's not possible. He's scamming you. He's not even dressed like one." Her laugh was sharp, desperate, and it bounced awkwardly through the gate area. People around us were already pulling out their phones, recording every second. I didn't say a word. I just walked forward, calm and steady, and handed my ID to the agent. She scanned it, then looked back at Karen with the kind of smile that says, "You really picked the wrong person today." "Ma'am, this is Captain Miller," she said clearly, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "The flight cannot leave without him." Karen's cheeks turned red, but instead of backing off, she grabbed at my sleeve. "This is fraud. He printed a fake badge, I swear it. I'll call airport security right now. This man is an imposter." For a second, the crowd gasped. A couple of people even stood, as if expecting handcuffs. My heart pounded, but I didn't flinch, because I knew the real twist was about to land harder than any of them expected. "Security!" she shrieked, her finger stabbing the air toward me. "Arrest him before he gets on that plane!" But the airport police officer who arrived didn't look at me. He looked at her. His eyes narrowed as he studied the crumpled ticket in her hand. "Ma'am, where exactly did you get this boarding pass? Because it's not from our system." She froze. Her mouth opened, then snapped shut. The officer leaned closer. "Impersonating airport staff or falsifying documents is a federal offense. You're about 5 seconds away from being in serious trouble." The crowd erupted, some laughing, some clapping, others just shaking their heads in disbelief. I just kept my eyes on her, letting her dig her own hole deeper. I finally turned to Karen, calm as ever, and said, "Ma'am, you wanted first class? Don't worry. You'll be sitting front row when they escort you out in handcuffs." Karen's voice cracked into a high-pitched scream. "This is harassment. He's lying. Everyone's lying." She tried to shove past the officer, her fake ticket crumpling in her fist, but the crowd had turned fully against her now. Phones were raised high, recording every second. Someone muttered, "Classic Karen," and the whole waiting area chuckled. The officer held up his hand. "Ma'am, calm down. Step aside." But she wouldn't. She planted herself in front of the gate like a wall, glaring at me. "If he's a real pilot, prove it. Show us your license, your uniform, something. He's a fraud, and I'm exposing him." The gate agent sighed, clearly done with the circus. She pressed a button on the counter, and the screen above flickered. Suddenly the flight manifest appeared, rows of names scrolling, and right there in bold letters was mine. Captain J. Miller, pilot. The crowd gasped. A few people clapped. Karen's jaw actually dropped. For a moment, I thought she might finally back down. But instead, she let out a bitter laugh. So what? Even if you are the pilot, that doesn't give you the right to steal my seat. I paid for this. Before she could finish, another officer arrived. But this one wasn't airport security. He was TSA, his badge gleaming under the lights. He spoke firmly, almost tiredly. "Ma'am, this is your last warning. You are disrupting a federal operation. Interfering with a pilot on duty is a serious offense." The air went dead quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's confidence finally cracked. Her fake smile twitched, her hands shook, but she still tried one last desperate jab. "This is America. I know my rights." I looked her in the eye, steady and calm, and said, "Yes, ma'am, and so do I." Karen's bravado melted into panic. Her eyes darted left and right, searching for support, but all she found were cameras pointed at her. A man in the back shouted, "Just let the pilot do his job!" and the crowd broke into laughter. She tried to switch tactics, softening her voice. "Look, I was just confused. It was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean anything by it." Her hands trembled as she shoved the fake paper behind her back. But the TSA officer wasn't buying it. "Misunderstanding? You tried to block a federal pilot from boarding. That's no misunderstanding. That's obstruction." The gate agent leaned over the counter, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Ma'am, your ticket isn't even for this flight. It's for tomorrow, and it's economy." The gasp that swept the waiting area was louder than the boarding announcements. Karen staggered back a step, her face pale now. She whispered, "No, that can't be." Then, like flipping a switch, she turned on me again, her voice sharp with bitterness. "You think you're a hero? You think you're better than me because you sit in the cockpit? You're nothing. You're just some guy with a uniform and an ego." I didn't flinch. I leaned closer, speaking just loud enough for her and the officer to hear. "I don't just sit in the cockpit. I'm the one keeping 200 people safe while they sleep, including people like you." The officer nodded, signaling to another guard. "Escort her out." The crowd erupted, clapping, cheering, some even chanting, "Pilot, pilot," as Karen was led toward the terminal doors. She kept looking back, her voice breaking. "This isn't over. You'll regret this." But I knew the truth. Her fight was already over. Karen thrashed against the officer's grip, her voice echoing through the terminal. "I'll sue all of you. This whole airport will regret humiliating me." But the harder she fought, the more ridiculous she looked. Passengers lifted their phones higher, capturing every second. Somewhere a kid even shouted, "Bye, Karen!" and the gate erupted in laughter. As they dragged her toward the security door, she twisted her neck, glaring at me. "You think this is funny? I'll have your license taken away. I know people in high places." I finally spoke up, calm but sharp. "Good. Tell them to call the FAA. They'll confirm everything." The officer escorting her almost cracked a smile at that. But just when everyone thought it was over, Karen played one last card. She dropped to the floor, screamed at the top of her lungs, "He threatened me! The pilot threatened me!" The terminal went silent for a second, the weight of her accusation hanging heavy. A few passengers even stopped recording, nervous now. The TSA officer froze, then slowly turned his head toward me. My pulse hammered. A false threat accusation against a pilot wasn't just a scene, it could end a career. For a split second, Karen smirked through her fake sobs, like she'd thought she'd finally cornered me. But the gate agent slammed her hand on the counter and said, "That's enough. We have cameras, ma'am. Every word, every move, it's all recorded." She turned the monitor toward the officers, and there it was. Clear footage of Karen screaming, grabbing my arm, waving her fake ticket, and lying through her teeth. The smirk slid right off her face.
The TSA officer didn't hesitate this time. "Ma'am, you are under arrest for falsifying documents, attempting to impersonate a passenger, and making false accusations against federal personnel." The cheers that exploded in the gate area were louder than the boarding call. Karen's legs buckled when the officer snapped the cuffs on her wrists. "You can't do this to me," she screamed, twisting like a cornered animal. "I pay taxes. I know my rights." But her voice cracked now, more desperate than powerful, drowned out by the sound of passengers clapping and cheering. The officer kept his grip firm. "Ma'am, you're going to be escorted to federal holding. Anything you say from this point forward can and will be used against you." The words hit her like a hammer, and for the first time, she didn't fight back. Her shoulders sagged, the fire gone from her eyes. I stepped aside, letting them pass. But as she was dragged toward the terminal exit, she twisted her head one last time, spitting out the only weapon she had left. "You think you won? People like me don't stay down. You'll see. I'll be back." The gate fell into stunned silence for a moment. But then a man in the front row broke it with a laugh. "Lady, the only place you're going to back to is county jail." The crowd roared again, louder than before. The gate agent leaned over to me quietly. "Captain, sorry you had to deal with that circus before a flight." She paused, then smirked. "But honestly, that was better than reality TV." I gave a half smile, shaking my head. I've flown through lightning storms quieter than that woman. And then, like nothing had happened, the boarding doors opened. The announcement echoed over the speakers. "Flight 217 to Dallas is now boarding. First-class passengers and crew, please proceed to the gate." The officer led Karen away, her shouts fading into the distance, and I walked down the jet bridge, calm and collected, but carrying the weight of what just happened, because I knew her story wasn't done. Not yet.